4th and goal to go to 2. 34 seconds left to go in the ball game. This is the play right now. Takes the snap. Targeted goes in. Targeted all alone. And the quarterback keeps. Wow, what a call. Nobody touched him.
Here is Jeff, the host of the Gridiron.
I've seen this. Now, the Giants must improve their injury dilemma. Now, apparently, it got better last season than it had the year before. Okay. But there's, they still having their problems with the injuries. One thing is that, in this one article here, there's a chart that shows some of the games missed and all that. And, I keep harping on this, once again, good for them. I despise the Eagles. I can't stand them. Respectfully despise them. Basically, because I live about 20, 25 minutes from Philadelphia. Can't stand a Philadelphia fan. Can't stand them. Whether it's the Flyers, Sixers, the Phillies, I can't stand them. I can't despise them. But the one thing is with the Eagles, and once again, good for them. They were the second least injured team on this chart here. Means they didn't miss a lot of games due to injury. And once again, that's one of the reasons you need luck. It helps to have a good team, of course. Right? But right? I mean, if AJ Brown got injured, snapped his ankle, he's out for the season. Saquon tears his ACL. Devontae Smith blows out both of his hamstrings, and let's see, Jalen Hurts breaks both of his arms. How far are the Eagles going? Probably not too far, right? So, so the guys stay healthy, right? I mean, what did Saquon do a lot with the Giants? He had a couple of seasons where he stayed healthy, but there was also a few seasons where he got injured too, right? But with them, he ran the ball 37,000 times for 5,442 trillion yards, and he didn't get a bad case of jock itch last year. Nothing, absolutely. He didn't even get a cold. Nothing. He was fine, right? With the Giants, the 1 year, he really got held in check in the first game of the season against the Steelers. Week 2 against the Bears, I think his 3rd, 4th, 5th carry, boom, he's out for the season. Right? That didn't happen with the Eagles. Carried the ball 47 trillion times and bounced up every time. Woo, let's go, baby. I feel great. Woo, I'm an Eagle. Woo, so. Right? But the Giants, they did get a little bit better with the injuries, a little bit better. But, where are we at here? Here we go. All right. So the New York Giants improved their injury dilemma in 2024, but more is needed. So we will have to wait and see. Hopefully, keep your fingers crossed. New York Giants seem to be affected by serious injuries almost every year. Yep. Last year, Kayvon missed 5 games. Dexter Lawrence missed the last 6 weeks with a dislocated elbow. Andrew Thomas went down early in the season, and other players dealt with lesser injuries. Of course, we had 4 quarterbacks in there, 10 offensive line combinations. The list goes on and on and on, right? Not all injuries are created equal, though. Absolutely not. As an example, Kayvon missed 5 games, but Azeez Ojulari stepped in and produced well while Thibs was out. The same cannot be said for the losses of Lawrence and Thomas, though, who are both integral parts of their respective lines. Despite the big losses in 2024, the Giants ranked just 13th, which is not bad. 13th in adjusted games lost. This comes from Aaron Schatz in an analysis for FTN Fantasy. I don't know who that is, but it's very good information, really good information here. Schatz looked at the injury data for all 32 teams and ranked them based on how impactful the injuries are. Just as we did our old website, I've continued to collect data from the NFL's weekly injury reports with the help of Zach Binney from Emory University and transformed it into adjusted games lost. We also have the data going backwards, covering the entire 21st century. Adjusted games lost doesn't just add up to total injuries. It accounts for both absent players and those players at less than 100%. and it specifically measures injuries to expected starters and important situational players rather than little-used backups. As such, AGL estimates that the impact of injuries on teams and provides a comparable total that often succinctly explains why teams improved or declined from one year to the next. The Giants' 13th overall ranking breaks down to 13th, 28.8. The games lost was 28.8 games lost on offense, and 17th overall, 41.5 on defense. So they basically, it was like a grand total of almost like 70 games lost, right? And is a huge step up from their 26th ranking in 2023. So they went from 26th, which is really bad, to 13th, which sort of getting in, they're certainly getting and going in the right direction. If they can get into the top 10, that would be huge. So, however, they still are ways off from being a playoff contender if they can't prevent or at least compensate for injured players. Last year, 6 of the 8 playoff teams had the lowest AGL. Right? Man, sometimes it doesn't matter what you have. It doesn't matter. You can have the greatest team. You can go and have the fantasy draft. You can take whoever you want at the prime of their career, pluck them out of thin air, throw them on the field. If you want Jim Brown, prime of his career, right? Running for, was it 63? 62, Jim Taylor won the rushing title. So it was 63 or 6, might have been 64 when they beat the Colts 27-0 in the championship. Might have been, he ran for 1,800 and some odd yards in 14 games. Yeah, so if you want that, Jim Brown, you pluck him out of thin air, boom, now he's your running back. You can take the greatest center of all time, whoever you want a quarterback in their prime, throw him in there. You grab everybody. The greatest play, you can grab Lawrence Taylor from back in the day, 1986, pluck him out of thin air. Boom, 20.5 sacks. Yeah, now we're talking, baby, the NFL. And you can grab Alan Page, 1971, the NFL, the MVP. He was a defensive player, right, from 1971. You can go back to 1938, pluck Mel Hein out of thin air. Now he's your center. Why? Because he was the NFL MVP, center, 1938. Oh my! You can have the greatest players in the prime of all time, and if they all get injured, don't mean jack. That's what it means. So, right? It don't matter. I said that. The thing is, you spend all this money on these free agents. You bring these coaches in, and you watch all this film, and you draft the greatest draft class of all time, and you feel that all this, you spend all these trillions and billions and zillions of dollars and hours and all this and all, and one guy gets injured right after the other. Just might as well just don't even bother with the season. Season's over. Don't matter, right? So, to address this problem, the Giants made changes to their strength and conditioning personnel. They added Dr. Matthew Frakes as the director of performance nutrition, promoted Drew Wilson to director of strength and conditioning, and hired Chris Allen and Mark Naylor as assistant strength and conditioning coaches. Strength and conditioning, as well as nutritional programs, might look a little different for the Giants in 2025, but the idea is to keep as many players healthy as possible. Not only the starters, specifically the impact players and the leaders on both sides of the ball, but the bench players have to be available to provide depth. You also have to be able to step in and produce enough to decrease the blow of losing the starter. Injuries cannot be 100% avoided. Absolutely not. Football is a physical game. Yes, it is. The players are aggressive, and competition keeps everyone playing at a high level. However, if the players' bodies are in the best nutritional and condition health possible, injuries that can't be prevented will have less of an impact. Not just because of depth, but because those injuries won't be as serious with the body in top shape. There's still work to be done, but it seems Joe Shane's Giants are poised to have a decent season. Now, let me see here if I can share this screen here. If I can share screen, hopefully if I can pop up, that would be fantastic. This has got this chart here. Here it is. Right. So share this, and it shows you where the Giants are at here. Browser can't access your screen. Try captioning a different screen. Oh, shame. Okay, well, anyway, unfortunately. But see, the Giants, they had lost 28.8 adjusted games lost on offense, right? And 41.5 on defense. So they had a grand total of 70.3, okay, adjusted games lost. The 49ers were the worst. Now, that's why they had one of the best teams in all of football, and they were the worst by far. They lost 141.2 games. The second closest team was the Raiders, 118. So the 49ers were by far. That's why they didn't even make the playoffs. They went to the Super Bowl the year before. They smacked around the Eagles and all that stuff, and they probably could have smacked the Eagles around. Same thing with the Lions. The Lions lost 100 games. 86.5 games on defense, which is probably the most. Yeah, their defense was totally decimated. Totally decimated, the Lions defense. That's why they lost. They couldn't stop anybody. They stopped the Commanders in the playoffs. Right? That's one of the reasons why they make the championship game. It would have been a great game, but they actually had all their deep. See, they were not lucky. Okay, they totally depleted on defense. The Eagles were lucky. The Eagles had like nobody injured. It's one of the reasons why the Eagles went to the Super Bowl and they won. And other teams, like the 49ers and the Lions, who quite possibly could have beaten the Eagles, didn't go there. 49ers couldn't even make the playoffs because they were so decimated by injuries. And the same thing with the Lions. Lions managed to win and get the number one spot and all that, but because of their defensive injuries, they couldn't make it to the championship game. Right? But I said the Eagles were number 2. The Eagles lost a grand total of 33.7 games. Just the games lost, 33.7. The Ravens were number 1, 16.3. Right? I mean, so you kind of wonder why all these teams, go to the playoffs, right, and do well. That's because they have very good players and they don't have any injuries to speak of. The Eagles lost 11.2 games, adjusted games lost, 11 on their defensive side of the ball, which is like nothing. The Ravens lost 7.7 games lost due to injuries on offense and 8.6 on defense. I mean, nobody was injured. For one of the reasons why the Ravens had a very good team and they played well and they went to the playoffs. So, the Giants, certainly took a step in the right direction without question. They were 26th the year before. They went down to 13th. Okay. Can we get even better? I'll have to wait and see. It's not something you want to screw around with. Get these guys in best shape possible, nutrition, all that and everything, and hope for the best. But I said, you can have the best of everybody. If they're all injured, they don't, good luck trying to win a football game. Right? Good luck.